every time you ask me a question or every time I start talking and like getting emotional, a lot of it stems from this idea of like, I'm so proud of my kids for the strength that they had in those spaces and like being in the NICU and like being in their little like incubators for days. And like I had never felt so proud of another human being.
Cheers. I love the blender bottle.
Love it. Like all my stickers.
I do. I like this one in particular right there.
Oh, Mom's Off Script.
Mom's Off Script. Speaking of, welcome to another episode of Mom's Off Script. I am Mare.
And I'm Meg.
And I am so excited to be bringing you this episode tonight. It's a heavy one. I think maybe let's give like a little overview at the beginning so folks know what they're getting into. We're going to be talking about your experiences in the NICU with both of your babies, right?
Yeah, both of them went to the NICU.
Yeah, so we're going to be getting into that. Just we want to bring more awareness and shed some light on what this experience is like. I think more people go through it than we probably realize.
For sure.
And whether you went through it or you didn't, you at some point may know someone who's going through this experience. And we think it's so important that folks understand what this entails and what, maybe dispel some myths and like how to support people going through this. So I'm excited to get into it. And I'm thankful to you for sharing these experiences because I know it's a lot.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of get into it a little bit and share my experience with our listeners. My experience, which we'll get into, was not as severe in the NICU as some other families and other situations, but when you're in it, you have all the feels.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to kind of get into that.
Let's get into it. And I think it's easy to say like, oh, well, it could have been worse, but like I want to validate at the top, like whatever you went through, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think like no matter what your situation is, whether you're in the NICU or not, being a new mom is terrifying. What. So I think that, yeah, I don't necessarily invalidate our experience, but just want to shed light on the fact that what we went through, I recognize that there are families that are going through more. And so when we talk about like shedding light on it and it's my experience with it. And my kids came out, they came out quickly and it wasn't a long stay and all the things. So
talk to me about how you found yourself in the NICU. Was it an expected stay where you knew and were anticipating that? Was it all of a sudden? What led you to being there?
Yeah. So my son, he was 3.5 weeks early. So he was not premature, but he was not full term. So he was what they call preterm. So he was like 3 days shy of being
so close.
I know. But my water broke and we had to deliver and we had a baby. He was under 6 pounds, or he was just under 6 pounds. And then if you don't know this, once babies are born, they actually lose weight. So one of the milestones or one of the things that we get excited about is when they get back to their birth weight. But we had him with us. He struggled to latch. We did some feedings with syringes. So I was able to produce colostrum and was able to feed him with syringes, but he was, that was the only way he was getting his nutrition at that point. He was just really tiny. So we spent the first night with him. We snuggled, all the things, but he like slept so much the first night, which was a little wild. And then the doctors came in and his temperature had dropped.
Okay.
So we got moved. We got a lot of tests done in the actual hospital before he went up to NICU. And it turned out he had hypothermia. So he was brought right to NICU. that's kind of how we got there.
So it wasn't an anticipated thing.
No.
You didn't know that was going to happen. How did you feel in that moment when you were understanding, like, okay, he's got to be brought to the NICU?
I mean, trying to recount it is challenging, because I think one thing you go through as a new mom, or somebody who goes through like something traumatic like this, you kind of black a lot of it out.
Yeah.
So I will say we picked the hospital that we went to for both of our children because they were the only one in the area that had a NICU.
Oh, interesting.
And we knew that. And so that was kind of why we chose the hospital we chose. We were hopeful that we wouldn't need it, but we knew that if we did have a situation where we had to go to a NICU, that the baby and I would be in different hospitals, and or I would have to be discharged early.
Right.
And so we chose the hospital that had the NICU.
Yeah.
So we had that kind of like, okay, we're here. Like, we made this decision and we're here and this is happening. We didn't want it to happen, but it's happening.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of relief in this fact that we made a good decision in our planning, whether we had some sort of like internal foreshadowing or like intuition, who knows. It was I remember them taking him up and feeling so traumatized because of the hormones and the not really understanding what was going on, and not for lack of the hospital informing us, but just like all the clouds that come with
you're not
being
in like
a new parent. Like, you're not in a good state. Like, I had a medicated birth, so like I'm
foggy.
Like groggy. It's been 24 hours. Like, we're close to being able to bring him home. And actually, rewind, he had already passed like his car seat test. He had already passed.
Oh, you were ready to go home.
We were ready to go. So actually, now that I'm remembering, I think we had spent 2 nights together.
Wow.
Because I think he was actually born. We spent the first night, and the first night was crazy because we were trying to figure out how to nurse him. And then the second night was the night that he slept soundly.
Which is weird, because usually the second night is like the crazy cluster feeding.
Right. The second night he slept soundly, and I was like, ooh, like,
I've got a baby that sleeps.
But I like snuggled him and he felt cold, and that's when the hypothermia came through. So we were close to being able to go home. And so it was like heartbreaking more than anything. And then I was like 2 hours away from being discharged.
Okay.
And now baby couldn't come home, but I was discharged. So
how does that work? Because I've heard different scenarios where it's like you're allowed to stay, other times you have to go home. What was your scenario?
I had to go home. And because I had been discharged, I was no longer a patient at the hospital. I was so distraught. I was so frustrated and sad and feeling all the feels. I had an exceptional nurse that kind of gave me like a tip. Okay. And that in the hospital we were at, they had one room outside of the NICU that had like pull-out chairs, or like recliner chairs that you could sleep on, that was allowed to one family each night by request, and you had to turn the key in the next morning.
Okay. Nurses are the best. Side note, shout out to that nurse.
Yeah, she crushed it, because actually a month later we were able to give that tip to a friend who fell into a similar situation where they were in the NICU. But so I was discharged and had to leave. Okay. I do think that I went home. I did go home at some point. I think we tag teamed it. No one was ever not in the hospital.
Someone was always there.
Someone was always there with my son. And we did get the room. We did get to stay the first night. I think we stayed there 2 nights. He was in the NICU for 4 nights total.
That's what I was going to ask, was how long was the full stay?
Yeah, so it wasn't too long, but he was there for 4 nights.
It must have felt like 10 years though.
Yeah, it felt like forever. Yeah. So we stayed in that room for 2 nights, and then I slept in the NICU with him one night, in one of the recliner chairs, and I can't remember the other night. Like, maybe we got the room again. It's all a blur.
It's a blur.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember one night literally sleeping in the recliner chair, and like in my like delirious like new mom, oh my god, my baby's in the NICU, mindset. I just remember snuggling him and like singing to him, but I
Mm.
didn't have any songs, and I like wrote a song, like the melody and the words, and like I feel like I've been doing that their whole life now, but
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it's a song that like stuck that I have continued to sing to him.
Yeah.
Like probably sang it to him tonight at bedtime.
Yeah. I feel like every mom does that at some point. You have like
Yes.
some little song that
Yes.
you've made up at
Mhm.
some point of desperation for your
Yeah.
child, and I love that.
Mhm.
So what was the, I know you said his stay was for like 4 nights. What was the milestone that they were working towards to be like, okay, once he does this, you get to go home?
Yeah, he had to have a temperature of 97 or 98 for a full 24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So walk me through the moment where you were told he's hit this milestone, now his temperature is good and you're ready to go home. What was the discharge process? What was the moment you came home with your baby this time? Talk me through that part.
So he had been moved from the NICU to the CCU, the critical care unit,
Okay.
which is kind of like the next,
like a step down?
Yeah. Or like a step towards graduation.
Yes. Less severe.
Correct.
Okay.
All my memories are like flooding.
They're like coming back. I'm like
they're flooding back. Okay.
Talk me through it.
Okay, so I'm going to talk you through the question that you
Yes.
asked. So he was moved over to the CCU. I remember him like hitting his temperature, and then like so they took his temperature like every 3 to 6 hours. I remember him hitting it and then like hitting it and then like missing it. And then, like hitting it and missing it. We got to that like last one where like we knew if he checked it and it was good,
If this
we
was
were
the good
leaving.
one, you were done.
If we were leaving, we were done. And we had this incredible nurse. She was like rooting for us, and she was like talking us through the whole process. And then I remember taking his temperature and being like, "We can go home. We can go home. Oh my god, we're taking a baby home." It was just a really cool feeling, and I just felt really grateful for that specific nurse.
I could go on forever. Like I want to go back to your birth story. I want to go back to postpartum, but like I want to stay focused on that NICU experience.
I want to go back to like the trauma piece of it, because I as we're having this conversation, I'm remembering that there was one point on the day he was brought up to the NICU that they took an X-ray of him.
Whoa!
They took his X-ray and
like put his whole little self.
Yeah, he had like a little because he had jaundice.
Yep.
And so I don't remember what they were getting a picture of, but they took an X-ray, and I walked into the NICU not having consented for an X-ray, not knowing he was getting an X-ray. The like machine was over my baby, and that was like the moment I walked in.
Oh my gosh!
And that like was part of like kickstarted a little bit more of like, as I had like just settled down, I was like jumped into this.
Yeah. Did you come through that? Like, were you like, what is happening? Like, did you understand then why he was getting one and all of that?
Yeah, but I was still like really upset.
Yeah.
And I think it was just more just I was upset through
the
process.
It's so important. This is a little bit of a sidebar, but like I feel like one of the things about giving birth in a hospital setting is there's so much medicalization around it.
Yeah.
It's so important, I think, to understand what's going on.
Right.
Even in just a kind of normal, plain vanilla birth, to know like this is what's happening. And I think hospital staff sometimes are like, well, of course we're going to do this because we've had 500 births today and we're just going to do the same thing we always do on these births.
Right.
And this is what we need to do, so we're going to do it. And from the perspective of the mother who's like going through this probably for the first time, everything feels like, oh my God, wait, what are you doing? And like the disconnect between the trauma experience that you're having and the nurses who are like, we're just taking an X-ray, relax. Like that, I feel like is a really large divide.
It is. And I think like the other thing, like stepping back from it 4 years later and kind of reflecting on it, like the other piece is with tiny humans, you have to move quickly.
Yeah. Yes.
And so while I was so frustrated and like annoyed that they took this X-ray, like now my kid's got like radiation exposure, like all these things that are going through my new mom brain that are like
valid things,
but irrational, and like the way I'm like all the hormones, all the things, like probably the screaming I did at my husband, like not at him, but like to him about the situation and like being frustrated, like they had to move that quickly, right? Because the kid's 92 degrees, right? Like what's going on? They're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
There's this balance of like the education and like the making sure that people are in the loop and like knowing what's going on, but also like a pace in which they have to maintain in order to give the care that they need to give to their patients. And so I think in that situation, I don't know that anybody could have prevented it, but like me walking into the NICU at that
Just
exact
bad timing.
moment was just bad timing, like that no one could have prevented.
Yeah.
So
what else about your son's NICU experience do you want to touch on before we talk about your second NICU stay?
Yeah, I think so. The NICU was tough. And I think, to my point earlier, like there was a lot of feeling like stressed because we were like, it's not that bad. Like, we can just get out of here soon. We can get out of here soon. And then we would have failed tests and it would be like, we have to stay. And like, it was more frustrating than it was like traumatizing and heartbreaking at that moment. Especially like looking around the space. Because I would almost feel like guilty for feeling so upset that my kid was like, I couldn't bring my kid home. With that, I think something that we were able to do as parents in that moment and as like two humans trying to manage a traumatic and stressful situation was look for and find silver linings. My mom stayed with us that week. She drove right up. She was able to come meet my son in the hospital. She was with us before we found out. She wasn't with us when we found out he was in the NICU, but she stayed at our house and kind of like
she was
tidied things up.
Yeah,
she made
in
us
your arena.
She made us like a homecoming dinner. She got us donuts, which we ended up not being able to eat because we came home
there's the real
5
tragedy.
days later than we expected to. But she was so helpful, and I think that having her there allowed me to kind of calm down a lot, and it allowed my husband and I to find some silver linings. When you're a new parent, there's so many things that you don't know how to do that you think you know how to do. And like, I'm not a dad, but like when you're a new dad, there's all these things that like as a mom, I know how to change a diaper, right? Like whether it's because I'm the oldest kid and I've changed a billion diapers in my life, or it's just like this natural thing. Like I know how to change a diaper.
Yeah.
Right. Like my husband didn't really know how to change a diaper. And we spent 4 days watching nurses change the diaper 3 or 4 different ways. We watched people feed our son. We watched people feed other kids. And we got to like learn how to do all these things that we wouldn't necessarily have gotten to learn had we not been there.
Yeah. You like learn from the best, the pros.
Right. And like it's what we were able to like use to hang on to. We got to leave and our kid was on a schedule.
Yeah, seriously.
Which was something that we wanted. Thank you for the tissues. I think this is the part that's getting me because it was the part that like we needed to like hold on to the whole time. Like it was what we latched onto to get through what otherwise could have been very stressful, and carried a lot of guilt with us. And so there was just a lot there. I think that being able to hang on to those moments of we got to experience our child getting cared for by the best of the best. I don't think that you get into pediatric medicine or tiny human care if you don't want to do it. Right. And so these people in the NICU and in the CCU are nurses and doctors who are dealing with newborn crises all the time. And so we got to learn some stuff that we wouldn't have.
You made the most of this situation. Like that, I think that's what's coming through to me. It's like you're in this bad place and you looked at each other and said, what can we do with the situation we're in? We can hold each other and cry and be like, this is the worst and what do we do? Or we can look around and learn from all these incredible people around us and come home better prepared to be the parents to our son.
Right.
And like, that is wild to me that you were able to look at that situation and be like, you know what we could do here? Instead of just like crumbling to the ground. Like, that's amazing.
I think we had to, because I think like we would have crumbled.
Yeah.
Right. And like in that space, we had 2 choices.
Yeah.
And we had the choice. And I think that's how parents do it. I think at that point, like our decisions were about our mental health and like, how do we get through this? But like,
we also had this tiny human to take care of.
Yeah, you had to do it. You had to.
We had 2 choices, but like we really didn't have a choice.
Yeah, you're completely right. It's interesting. I've said before to friends who've asked about motherhood or the challenges of motherhood, or said something like, I don't know if I'd ever be able to do it. And I've said before, you don't know your capacity to do something hard until you have to do it. Right. And you touched on this at the beginning of the episode, like, oh, well, some people, have way more severe, like, and I've said, like, oh, I could never, like, listening to your story, I'm like, oh my God, that would tear me apart. Like, it does all this. But like, you actually don't know that until you have to go through it. And the fact that you not only went through it and handled it and dealt with it and came through the other side, but also like came at it with this mindset of like, we're going to learn and we're going to like be partners in this and like be better parents after this, because look at all this expertise we have around us. Like, honestly, it's amazing.
It did take a lot of effort.
Yeah, no kidding.
To do that.
No kidding. It didn't just happen by accident.
and some pep talks from my mom. And I'm sure my husband got on the phone and got some pep talks from his mom. And I do remember like talking to my sister through it, and like having people in place.
Yeah. I want to talk about your support sessions, but before we jump into that, I want to hear about the second NICU stay, right?
Okay, so the second one was crazy. And crazy is a very relative.
I remember this one because we knew each other now.
A very relative term at this point, but the second one was wild because she was born on time, 2 days early, but like honestly, she was on time because I think had I not gone to the hospital when I went, it could have been another 2 days before I actually had to go. I was over it. Okay, so she was born on time. She was also small. She was around 6 pounds. She was great. She latched, all the things. She was eating,
sleeping, pooping, all the things you look for.
Like all the things you look for in a newborn. Great. She came home with us after a night and a half or however long our hospital stay.
Were you so relieved that you went home with your baby this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the way we came out of the NICU and how we continued to talk about our experience with like finding the silver linings, for lack of a better term, I think we were like prepared for anything at that point.
Yeah.
I think my entire pregnancy, I was worried about having her early.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know her gender or her sex. So, but I was worried about having the baby early.
Yeah.
Going to the NICU was always something I was prepared for.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I was like, relieved. I could say I was
You're
relieved.
like, oh, we didn't have to do it this time. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then.
We get home. We have a good night or two. No, we had good 2 nights at home. She meets her brother. She didn't meet you guys yet. I don't think she had met anybody.
I think, yeah.
She had not met anybody. Oh, because she was born the week of Thanksgiving.
That's why.
We were hosting my family for Christmas that year. All 3 of my siblings and my mom and their partners were coming to our house for Christmas.
Ambitious. Let me just say that.
Because we were doing it early. We were like,
with a newborn baby.
We'll have a 2-week-old. Like, we're not traveling, but you can come to us.
I understand the thought process, but oh my God.
We did it. We did it. It was fun. We come home. We're like, yeah, we can still host Christmas. Like, this is going to be good. So we go to her peds appointment because after you have a baby, once they are discharged from the hospital, they have to have a peds appointment within, I think it's 48 hours. It might be 24 in some places. Like with my son, it was 24 hours because he was released or he was discharged from the NICU. I believe with my daughter, it was 48 hours.
I wanted to say 3 days, but I truly do not remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. But needless to say, we brought her to her appointment. She was 94 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
My heart sunk.
Yeah.
I'm like, I haven't eaten yet today. Like, I don't know what to do. like literally, I was just like, what's happening? And we go straight to the pediatric emergency room, which happened to be at the same hospital that we were at before. We get there, and this was the most wild part. Like, we walked in, and it's an emergency room. We walk in, there's an emergency room full of people waiting to be seen. We were seen within minutes.
Oh God.
I'm not saying like within like a half hour or like an hour, like minutes.
And like on the one hand, you're like, okay, good, there's urgency, but on the other hand, you're like, how bad is this?
That we jumped kind of where line. we were like, thank God thank God they're bringing her in, but like, oh my God, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And we were able to hang a little bit on our previous experience. What they continued to tell us was it was hypothermia. They didn't know why, but it, best case scenario, it's just hypothermia, not just, but it's hypothermia.
We can treat it.
We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to treat it. They did have to run a bunch of tests. They couldn't run tests. Like she was really stubborn. Shocker.
Surprise.
I know. And they couldn't get a couple tests in so it took a little bit of time in the ER, and eventually we were brought up to the NICU to go through the same process that we went through with my son.
And how long was she there?
3 extra days.
And was it the same kind of like we're waiting for that 24 hours of good temperature?
Yeah, she was never healthy enough or warm enough to be brought to the CCU. She just kind of like hung out in the NICU. My milk supply came in with her, so I was able to pump and just like give them a lot of milk. But she was kind of just like hanging out there, and we were getting stuff done, but we had a kid at home.
I know. That's what I was going to say. Like, how is the dynamic different knowing, your son is at home, your daughter's in the NICU? How are you balancing that?
Yeah, we didn't even request the room for that other like side room that had places to sleep. We went home. Because my milk supply had come in, I was able to just give them pumped milk and just say, do what you need to do. Here you go.
And you knew that she was in such good hands.
And I knew, and I had already experienced it, right?
Yeah.
And I had been it was the same place.
Yeah.
We ended up seeing the same nurse.
I was going to say, were there any the same?
I think there were a couple the same, but like the one nurse that I had talked about earlier that was in the CCU with my son was my daughter's nurse for a while.
Amazing.
She was phenomenal. And yeah, it was a similar but different experience. It was a waiting game.
Were you more focused? So the first time through, you were talking about silver linings and like learning from those around you and like trying to make the most of that situation. And this one, because you had your son at home, it sounds like you had to be a little bit more pragmatic about the situation. What were the silver linings you found the second time? Or did you?
We tried to really just focus on the ones that we had already found.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, this was a silver lining when our son was here. So like, she's going to get the same treatment.
Yeah.
Or, like he came out and was on a schedule. Like maybe she will too.
Yes.
And so like, getting that piece, like we didn't have to learn how to put diapers on or anything like that, like those pieces, but it was kind of like thinking through like, we've done this before. Let's rely on our experience and continue to take deep breaths and stay focused on the long game and what this was going to look like in a few days or in a few weeks, and that we were going to be able to make it through. I think our experience with our son, and then having been parents for the 17 months that we were parents without having a second, really grows you in your bond. And so like we were in a very different place as humans and parents when our second was born. And so I think we just were able to breathe a lot deeper in that moment and understand that it was a moment and that she was going to come home and that maybe we wouldn't be able to host Christmas, but our baby was going to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of, there was never a moment of doubt that she wasn't coming home.
It sounds like you went into it with way more confidence this time. You're like, this is going to be fine and we can weather this storm, versus the first time just being like a little overwhelmed.
Yeah. I mean, I will say like we were very frustrated in the whole situation because she had already come home. My son had already met her.
Yeah.
And like, at that point, I didn't want to confuse him or like, we were a family. We were a family of four. We were going to be a family of four. But for those like 3 days, there was a lot of like just separation. And my mom came again for that. And we, like I said, we went home and slept. We didn't stay with her overnight. We were a lot more like balanced.
Yes.
For lack of a better term.
It's so interesting because I feel like even though my experiences postpartum were so different because they didn't involve any NICU stays, I still felt the same kind of sense of the first time through just being like overwhelmed, all the hormones, all the feelings. Right. Oh my God. And then the second time being a lot more like almost like logistics minded. Like, okay, this is a thing, and like, how are we going to deal with it? We know we need to do A, B, and C. How do we do that thing? Not so much like, right? So I resonate with that experience on a very obviously different landscape, but it's same feeling.
It's still, I mean, it's your first and your second, and you're still your mom. And
so now, talk to me about the support that you had. What kind of, you talked about your mom came, like, what was the support around you that you were getting? Maybe was there support that you needed that you weren't getting? What was that support system like?
I don't know that there was any support that we weren't getting. And I think that at that point, if there was support that we weren't getting, we weren't focused on it.
Okay.
Because
you had bigger fish to fry.
We had bigger fish to fry. We were focused on our kids.
Yeah.
Coming home and being with us in our home. So my mom she obviously came for both, as I've already said. She was a huge help and a huge support. After my son was born, she had to like give me a pep talk. I don't remember if it was like after he had already come home or when he was still, I think he was still in the NICU, and she had to give me like a big pep talk, like
to moms are for.
Right, and like dig me out. So she was very helpful. She cooked and tidied, and like I said, she got us donuts and like all the things that we like. She kept things moving. And then with our second, because we had our son, she took him to Build-A-Bear. Like she did things. She did drop off. Like he had like 2 or 3 days of like I wasn't able to be 100% present for him in a way that like I am now.
Yeah.
Right. Like I do have 2 kids, but like I can be 100% and 100% and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like right. I can be a whole parent for them. Right. I guess is what I'm trying to say. But in that week I couldn't. And so my mom was able to really like pick up the slack and like help my son like have a good week. And like one of the things I was worried about was like the confusion of him, like her having come home and then like him being like, well, I had a sister, where'd she go?
Object permanence.
And right, he was only 17 months.
So
like very mind trippy. So my mom was a huge piece. So I talked to my sister a lot that week, who has 2 kids. She was pregnant with her second when my first was born. So just a lot of other like really good like parenting, motherhood experience. I think my sister is somebody who I'm able to talk to when I'm in kind of these like really stressed, like I need somebody to just listen and like touch base like with. So that was very helpful. My brothers were very present from a support standpoint. When both my kids were born, one of my brothers got in the car and like drove like the weekend we came home with my son, like was at our house like visiting and like brought me flowers and all the things. And like I can't remember, this is part of my birth story, but like when I was in the hospital with both kids, the same brother like literally sent me like game pigeon.
What is game pigeon?
So it's like it's an iPhone thing where like you play pool against each other. So like you shoot pool. Yeah. So like he was like sending me like pool games and like card games that we were like texting back and forth while I was like in labor with both my kids. Like so my brothers were like super, super supportive through the whole process.
In like a very brotherly way. It seems like
such a brotherly way. So that was really cool. But it felt very supportive. I felt like I had a good support system in place. With my second, I had my group of mom friends in the neighborhood. We were around the second time. We also had a couple friends who had come the night before, like when we went to the hospital, who had stayed with Griffin and gotten him to school. So we had a good network of people. And like I remember you bringing over frozen lasagnas, your staple, I think.
That's my like go-to postpartum meal for friends.
Fun fact, my go-to postpartum is the gift card. The DoorDash gift card.
So true though, because I hadn't had my second baby. As a first time mom, my go-to was like a meal in like a disposable container that you could like, a fresh one and a frozen one, one for that night, one for the whole deal. As a second time mom, once I had my daughter, I was like, oh, DoorDash gift cards.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
I think we probably gave you
yeah,
one.
you did.
Yeah.
I was
and
like,
then you're like, oh wait,
this is definitely the better thing. Like I'm thinking like, oh, it's like a homemade meal. No, DoorDash. That's what you want.
Yeah, that is what we want.
Be a second
Give
time
us
mom.
the money.
DoorDash gift cards.
But yeah, no. Overall, I felt like I had a really good support system in place.
Good.
So that was something that we needed, and we had.
Perfect. We said at the top of the episode that we wanted to kind of bring more awareness to what the NICU experience is like.
Yeah.
What would you say is kind of the biggest maybe misconception, or maybe not even misconception, but just like something you would want a parent to know who maybe hasn't gone through this experience so that they can better support someone who maybe is going through it?
Yeah. So I think a couple things that we've already talked about. Utilizing the nursing staff, they kind of know the ins and outs of the hospital or like where you're at. I think like that tip that we got from the nurse was really great about the room. Like I said, we have now tipped off like 3 or 4 families about that room at that hospital who have managed to been able to stay there during their NICU stays. So there's that. I think it's really hard when you're in the NICU to not look around and feel guilty or maybe some sort of resentment. But like recognizing that you're kind of like in your own experience and like everybody's going through what they're going through. But yeah, so I think that just kind of recognizing that everyone's there in their own experience and the way they're experiencing it is their reality. And so finding compassion for not only yourself and what you're dealing with, but all the others around you, because at least at the hospital we were at, like the NICU's an open floor. And so you're going to see a lot of things that are traumatizing, not only to you, but that are traumatizing to other people. And so giving yourself grace and giving the people around you the support that you can.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So then building off of that, would you have advice for someone who did find themselves in a NICU stay? Like, what would you tell that person?
I think I would tell that person to look for silver linings in a way that like makes sense to them. You know, the way we did it made sense for us, but like finding things to like hang hope onto. I think trusting the nurses, like I just said, but finding ways to keep yourself healthy are really, really important. So making sure you're getting your nutrition and making sure you're eating, making sure you take breaks. A big thing that I don't think I've touched on in this episode or in this conversation is that the staff is trained. This is what they do.
Yeah.
And your baby, while in this traumatic situation, is in the best hands possible. Yeah. And it is okay to take a break. I think that's something that's so hard to do, but like it's okay to go home and take a shower.
Yes.
Like,
I'm so glad you said that.
Like go home and take a shower. Or like I remember my mom bringing me like a sandwich, and I went outside and I sat on the bench outside and ate a sandwich with my mom. And like it's okay to do that.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's okay to need a break. It's not just okay to take one, but it's okay to need one. Because you can't be there for your kid if you're not there for yourself. And there are plenty of people who are there for your kid in that moment, and you can be there for yourself. All of that. It's okay to take a break. So my last piece of advice,
because I want to make sure we hear it because it's good.
My last piece of advice is cry. And I'm not just saying that because I'm doing it right now. It's actually a really big piece of advice. This experience for you, whatever it does to you physically, mentally, is a stressor. And let yourself feel it. Let yourself experience it. It's okay to cry. It is okay to experience anger and frustration and guilt and sadness and feel as though you're missing days at home with your baby. Like whatever you are feeling is valid. And if that physical response is crying, do it.
Let it out.
And that's it. That's what I got.
I have no more questions because that was perfect. All right. You want to do the lightning round? You need a minute.
We're doing a lightning round?
Yeah. It's not as like a silly lightning round because, you know, obviously. But I did my best. Okay. Lightning round. Are you ready?
I guess so. I'm ready.
As ready as you'll ever be.
Okay, I'll bring it on.
One word to sum up the experience.
Proud.
Person that helped you the most during each experience.
My mom.
Go-to thing for your mental health during each stay.
Talking with my husband.
One word for the feeling of coming home.
Relief. So one word, joy.
Okay. Last one. What do you wish people understood about the NICU?
It's not as scary as it sounds. It is traumatic, but it's not scary. If you can understand the difference between kind of the language and the words there.
That makes sense. Is there anything now you want to expand upon?
The one word, like proud, it feels like it's kind of like a funny word to answer that with, but I think that's one thing that I didn't really touch on too much about all of this. And every time you ask me a question or every time I start talking and like getting emotional, a lot of it stems from this idea of like, I'm so proud of my kids for the strength that they had in those spaces and like being in the NICU and like being in their little like incubators for days. And like I had never felt so proud of another human being than I had of my children in those 3 days. But on top of that, I was so proud of me. I was so proud of my husband, but like to do something and to go through an experience and come out proud of yourself while the experience is traumatizing, the pride that you can take away from it is very empowering. The word felt funny in the lightning round, but
it didn't feel funny to me. Like when you said it, I was like, yes, because everything that you just said like led to that moment, and I'm glad you said it, because if you didn't say it, I would have said that I am proud of you for going through that experience and sitting here and talking about it and maybe making someone else's experience a little less scary, and for just being a good mom. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you again for sharing everything that you've shared. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Moms Off Script. This was a heavy one and an emotional one, and I hope that it resonated for you all. If this did resonate for you, if you want to share your story, if you have a question, please reach out to us. Our email is momsoffscript@gmail.com. We're also on TikTok and Instagram. You can see clips from the episode. You can hear some behind the scenes videos.
Follow us on our
Check
socials.
us out over there, and we will talk to you next week.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.
Moms Off Script is created, designed, filmed, edited, and produced by Megg Abelein and Meredith Finch. Music by Matt Beaver. Photography by Michelle Montineri. Graphic design by Alexia Dulieu, and production consultants Nick DiVasta and Alan DiCicco.